Satya Nadella, is that like a city in Morrowind?
Ah, no, that's the new CEO of Microsoft.
All right, so in this video, we are going to talk about a very big picture here, and the first thing we're going to do is give you a history lesson of Microsoft up until now, so you know that we can predict the future. And we're also going to talk about something that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, and that is, what is Satya Nadella's impact going to be, not on the inside of Microsoft. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but we're also going to talk about his, his vision and what that impact is going to have on the rest of the world. And everybody's so focused on Microsoft right now, Wendell.
Yeah, Microsoft, I mean, they've been looking for a new CEO for a while. A lot of people had finally caught on that, maybe Ballmer wasn't the right guy to be running Microsoft, so he announced he was going to leave last year, or, on the 1 year, and it took sort of Microsoft a while to find some CEOs, and this is the guy.
All right, so the first thing we want to do is give you a history lesson. So we've got it right here on the screen. Lots and lots of history. These are terrible notes that I just slapped together. So let's start off first here with Gates and Ballmer, right? We're going to only go back to 2000, but that's when Gates named Ballmer the CEO, and then he became the chief software architect. After that, on June 15th, 2006, Bill Gates announced that he was going to have a 2-year transition period and then just be the chairman of the board and go off and do philanthropy, good type things like investigate polio and toilet seats and stuff like that. In 2012, they asked Gates to return, and Wendell, what did Gates say?
Gates would not return because I think Bill Gates, you got to understand, I think he seems like he's a fiercely loyal guy, and Ballmer had been with the company since the beginning, and so I think Bill Gates could kind of see that maybe Ballmer wasn't the right guy to have in an era of cloud and things like that. And there's also a lot of internal struggling going on at Microsoft. I mean, we know that from like the Ray Ozzie memos and things like that, but we'll get more into that in a minute.
So Ray Ozzie, I forgot to mention Ray Ozzie. When Bill Gates left the first time, he gave Ray Ozzie the position of chief software architect. And while Bill Gates was there, he was mainly looking at Microsoft Office and Windows. And a lot of people always look back at Bill Gates and say that was the golden time for Microsoft.
And so you had to completely reimagine the UI paradigm. And that's really the out-of-the-box thinking that made Apple successful, where Microsoft had failed, even though they beat Apple to the punch, because they were trying to put desktop business software in places where the UI paradigm didn't make sense.
So the thing that Bill Gates really failed on was making that connection with the end user on certain devices. He was really good with Office and really good with some versions of Windows, not Vista. That was his last thing before he was like, you know what, this sucks, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Well, he's like, he didn't really have anything to do with that, and then somebody asked him about it, and he's like, I really wish it had been better. It was sort of a fun interview.
Well, I mean, he was the chief software architect, so he wasn't like developing the software at that point, but he was, like kind of looking at it and saying, okay, move this, take this out. It was a failure, and he was at the helm as far as the chief software architect at the time, and then he was like, all right, you know what, I'm going to go off and give vaccines to people in third world countries. So anyway, Satya is here now. He's effective immediately. He is now the CEO, and he's an insider. He's someone that's been working there for a while, and he comes from a software engineering background. So the first thing I want to do is just introduce you guys to Satya. Satya has 3 kids. Satya has been married to his high school sweetheart, and he's 46 years old. And he, quote unquote, loves to learn. He buys more books than he can read. So that's who he is, and he does understand software development. Now, he's an insider. He's not a wild man like Ballmer. In fact, he's very understated, almost too understated in my opinion. And he really, really wants to digitize everything. And he's kind of going on this new do more thing. Like when Bill Gates was at the helm, it was like Office and Windows, and that was like the empire. Office, Windows, software, software, software. And now they want to be everywhere and do everything and, quote unquote, do more. He said, Satya Nadella has said, do more over and over and over again. They want to focus on innovation, and like they said, they wanted to upgrade their cloud. But the one thing that is interesting to me in some of the videos I've been watching, Satya Nadella says that they want to create an ambient intelligence. His vision is something where you could see like a CRM that works at a stadium, or a CRM that works for an entire city. And then everywhere you go, metadata is being harvested through your devices that are connected to Microsoft services. When you walk into a bar, the bartender gets a notification that says, hey, it's Logan. He wants rye whiskey and or he wants an imperial stout, and the bartender knows exactly who you are when you first walk in the door. This sounds a lot like they just want to be Google, in my opinion, Wendell.
Yeah, I think so. But it's interesting because some of what he's saying echoes what Ray Ozzie was saying before Ray Ozzie left Microsoft.
Oh yeah, let's get into that.
Well, it was this kind of thing where, okay, so if you don't know who Ray Ozzie was, he basically invented the first killer app for PC ever called VisiCalc. But he's, I think, probably most remembered for Lotus Notes, which was the first really big groupware application that is sort of like Exchange and Office.
Don't some people still use that?
Yeah, well, it's gotten a lot worse since, but it's still usable. It's still okay. Well, no, not now, not today, but back then it was.
Yeah.
And so Ray Ozzie was a really sharp guy, software architect. He left Microsoft in 2010. And if you Google it, there's this really awesome 5,000-word memo that he sent to Microsoft in 2010. And he's like, look, we got to get our stuff together. And it echoes a lot of what the new incoming CEO says. But one of my favorite quote from that memo from Ray Ozzie in 2010 is, products must deliver a seamless experience, one in which all technology in your life just works and can work together on your behalf under your control. This means design centered on an intentional fusion of internet-based services and software, and sometimes even hardware, to deliver meaningful experiences and solutions with a level of seamless design and use that it could not be achieved without such a holistic approach. That is exactly what has made Apple huge. Apple really has taken over, quote-unquote, personal computing because all of their stuff integrates and talks to its other stuff through the App Store and things like that. It's done it brilliantly. And, here's Ray Ozzie at Microsoft saying, oh, we should probably do that. And then he left from Ballmer's helm. Was Ballmer responsible for that? We don't really know, probably. But, that kind of thing.
So really, it looks like Microsoft does want to be a lot like Apple. And they've got some things that they would like to be kind of like Google in, but like you just said, they're not going to be as good as far as Google search and all that sort of thing goes. But they do want to try to be everywhere, and that's something that's been echoing over and over through everything Satya has been saying. They really want to be everywhere, and the ambient intelligence that resonated with me in a very strange way. Like he wants to create an ambient intelligence. Now, stuff like this could be used to really improve your daily life. It can be used for agriculture to keep better records. It can be used for, just managing your own personal life. And it can also be used to improve your life when you walk into a certain place, like, hey, they know you like a certain thing. But it can also be abused. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about. Whenever anybody has access to this much data, the temptation is going to be there to sell off this metadata, to use this metadata to market to you, and also there's the potential of giving this metadata over to the FBI and that sort of thing, the FBI, NSA, and all that sort of thing. I don't know. What do you think? There's any worries there, Wendell?
I think that I sort of see it going in a different direction. See, because one of the things that really hurt Microsoft with their execution, like the Ray Ozzie thing. Let's say that the Ray Ozzie thing was a good direction. One of the reasons that they didn't go in the Ray Ozzie direction is because they are so focused on business-heavy things. I'm reading this from Satya, and I think that they may be putting an overemphasis on the CRM aspect of it, because Microsoft has, Great Plains Dynamics CRM, this huge, complicated CRM program that is awesome. It can actually give Oracle and Salesforce and those, and SAP and those type of programs a run for its money. It's good software. It's huge, complicated, bloated, slow. Probably needs in need of some engineering attention, but it is a hugely complicated CRM solution, and he really likes that. I mean, he's on record as saying, "Oh, we really like the CRM thing. It's really awesome." It could work to your advantage, but I worry that that's still too much of a business-heavy focus. Apple. And what Ray Ozzie was saying is focused on a sort of a results-oriented approach. You go home, your phone, whatever, your stuff comes on, your stereo knows you're there, your television programs are there, everything is just sort of seamlessly connected. That could be really cool. People will really like that. If you go to a bar and you can order from your phone, maybe that's kind of neat. That's pretty useful, but I think people will be worried about having their data harvested, especially, with the whole like Facebook and NSA and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know that people will readily adopt that as much as they would sort of the home user model.
All right, the last thing I want to talk about is Bill Gates returning to the company. Talk about what that is or how that's going to impact Microsoft and also just impact everything else. If you guys have any comments on the things that Satya Nadella is going to be working towards, his vision, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll see him there. So, okay, Bill Gates is coming back, right? And ZDNet says that Microsoft does not need a Bill Gates redo. Bill Gates has been out of this business for a while. He's been out, like I said, doing philanthropic things, going to third world countries, working on all kinds of who knows what, terraforming planets, who knows what he's working on.
Terraforming the sub-Saharan African whatever.
Yeah.
Releasing genetically engineered mosquitoes.
He's coming back, and he didn't echo a lot of the different things that Satya was saying. He seemed to have a more narrow focus. He said he wants Office to be interactive documents and that sort of thing. He wants to go sort of the Google Documents route with that, and he wants to build a better cloud or a new cloud. And he's going to be devoting a third of his time. Wendell, what do you think this is going to do for Microsoft?
Well, it's interesting. We found this older Ziff Davis article from last year that was talking about how, will Bill Gates, so the buzz then was, will Bill Gates come back as CEO? And no, Bill Gates is not going to do that because of the whole fiercely loyal Ballmer thing, blah, blah, blah. And if you talk to him last year and the year before and in years gone by, it was like, hey, will you come back to Microsoft? And he's like, no, I think my time's done there. But he's coming back, and he's coming back for, a third of the time. So what changed? Is it because Microsoft is hemorrhaging so bad, or is it because he's got something to contribute? Is it that, Ballmer has retired, quote unquote, of his own will, and now, Bill Gates won't feel weird about coming back? I don't know. It's probably a combination of all the things. Plus, the guy created the company. He probably wants to help it along the best he can. I think anecdotally, I think there was a story about him trying to install Windows 8.1 and failing at it, and he's like, what are we doing? I don't understand why Windows 8.1 is so hard to install. This is crazy. So I think that'll probably help them, but they need somebody that's close to the executive team with an outside perspective. That's really what they need.
That's exactly what they don't have right now. They're hiring from the inside. They're bringing back someone who has been gone for a long time, and is pretty much only experience has been from the inside.
Well,
so
just to be clear, and I'm not saying that like the CEO of Ford was a good idea for CEO, or Elop from Nokia. I don't think that was a good idea either. By outside perspective, I think that you need somebody that is on the consumer electronics side that is like, I know what I want and this will be amazing. That guy was Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was like, a reasonable home user would like these features. A reasonable ordinary person would like these features on a phone, and he built the iPhone. I'm not sure that Microsoft has that person who can sort of top-down architecturally say, I think a reasonable person would like this feature. How can we build it? And that's really what they need. I think given the list of CEO candidates that we knew about, this was probably the right choice. I worry that the CEO choice they have is too business-heavy, but let's face it, business is Microsoft's bread and butter. Apple still seems kind of apathetic about dealing with business customers. Apple's probably going to continue to erode Microsoft's share on the desktop, but Linux is probably going to create an opportunity for Linux to really take over on the desktop as soon as Linux gets some major developer support on the desktop and things are a little more polished and that kind of thing, because desktop is really the only market that Linux has entered that it has not absolutely just taken over the universe in. And so that will come with desktop, and whether that's a Windows compatibility layer that's decent, or emulation, or maybe a Mac OS emulation layer that could run stuff on Linux. I don't know how that's going to play out, but the whole unification that Ray Ozzie was saying, that's definitely the future for Microsoft. This guy seems to get it, but it may be business heavy, so I don't know that really bodes well for the future of Microsoft.
Yeah, I agree with the business heavy thing, and I've also seen a lot of different blogs out there that have been saying that Microsoft really needs a wartime CEO, and I want to disagree with that, because Microsoft is not doing as poorly as everyone keeps reporting that they're doing. They're not hemorrhaging cash as much as everyone says. They're still making money, okay, guys? So let's not forget that they are still making money. What they needed was a slightly different direction and a new philosophy, and I think a lot of the ideas, as long as they can pull them off seamlessly in a Ray Ozzie style, are really going to help the company, because they're things that people want, even if they're worried about them. Like I think a lot of people would enjoy having an ultimate cloud that's seamless and works, and every time you go somewhere, everything knows about what you're doing, and there's tons of metadata going around. just floating around everywhere, this metadata. That's going to really scare a lot of people. It's probably going to, I mean, it's just a huge turnoff for me, but that's something that I think a lot of people will like as far as the functionality goes. And if they pull it off correctly, again, in a Ray Ozzie style, could be good things. All right, so guys, go ahead and watch the tech now. We're going to briefly mention this in the tech, but we wanted to really get into this because this is something that's really going to change the industry. When you have a new CEO, one of the most major companies, it's something worth talking about. So go ahead and watch the tech now. The link is on the screen, and I'll see you guys over there.